So just when you thought you were headed into a fun and exciting retirement, a couple of simple decisions ultimately end up crashing those hopes and dreams. What happened? You did your homework, right? You thought everything looked good on paper years ago, so how could this have happened? It's not unusual for us to have new prospective clients call into our office and say that they're in this unfortunate situation now and are looking for our help to help them get back on track. Now, as much as we'd rather have been there for them from the beginning, we love working with people in this situation because it really illustrates just how powerful working with a good financial planning firm can be. But for this video, I want to show you just how quickly things can change on you and what kind of landmines are out there for you to avoid so you don't find yourself in that same unfortunate situation. Let's go. Okay, thanks for joining me. And first, let me introduce myself. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Bob Brown. I'm a proud founding partner here at Stonehouse Investment Management, and we have an amazing team here. I'm super proud to work alongside each and every one of them every day. Basically, we're trying to add value for our clients by making their lives easier. So let me start by telling you a story now, which most parents can relate to. And if you've seen your kids grow up through their teenage years and then college years and maybe even into their young adult lives by now, then I think you can relate to this story. How many times have you seen them spend money on something that makes you cringe? That makes you say to yourself, oh man, they're making a huge mistake here. But for the sake of not alienating your kids from your life, you decide to bite your tongue, keep it to yourself. And then, sure enough, they make another purchase and maybe another. Maybe it gets to the point where your head is about to explode because you want to yell out, no one can spend this much money at this rate based on your income level and expect it to be sustainable, unless you're the federal government. But that's another story. Moving on. My point here is, what gives you the confidence to have those kinds of feelings or doubts about the direction your kids are headed? Experience. That's what gives you the confidence, because you've walked that same path that they're walking, or at least a very similar one, and you know from your own experience. And now you know that making too many poor decisions, even though each of them could be small on their own, they can compound into a very bad direction and a life that's now way off course. And if you understand and you believe and you get that vibe of everything I just said, then you can also understand and believe why we as financial planners feel that very same way about our clients. You will only experience one retirement. At Stonehouse, we're helping many clients navigate through many retirements every single day. Now, we've seen a lot of things over and over again, and we know just how a few poor decisions, or more commonly, I'd say, impulsive or optimistic decisions, can end up crashing someone's retirement. Here's an illustration of what I'm talking about. In this plan, we see what certainly appears to be a wonderful, healthy retirement plan that's on the horizon for these folks. But because they had such a robust and comfortable plan in front of them, they got a little overzealous and pulled the trigger on that retirement several years before they planned. So you can see that a lot of value was lost over the course of that expected retirement, and now the chart looks a lot less attractive. But then they made another decision, which had all the best intentions, and that was to help both of their adult children with some cash flow crunches that they were experiencing. And so now you can see how that robs a little bit more from those retirement dollars. And finally, the big one. Not because it's necessarily the biggest dollar amount, but because it's the final one in a sequence of decisions that finally breaks the back of this retirement plan. That decision was for them to purchase a condo in the perfect location that they had always dreamt about, and because they had remembered that their plan looked so wonderful several years ago when they put it together. Unfortunately, they assumed there would be enough money to make this dream come true. But as you can see, it has crashed those dreams. So that's a lot to think about. And to be quite honest, it's kind of depressing, right? I mean, it's easy for our kids to make those poor decisions because they have their whole working years to cover up and correct some of those mistakes. We know we did it. But you as a retiree do not have that luxury, which is why it's important to understand that a financial plan is only a moment in time. It's a glimpse at what might be coming in your future. But life is changing all around us every day. So when something substantial happens or a decision needs to be made, you need to update that plan or at least take a look at the effects of your decisions. Again, this is why we love to help our clients with these decisions, because it really shows the value we can bring to the table. The clients who love working with us enjoy reaching out to their Stonehouse advisor and asking, hey, I'm thinking about buying this or doing that. How does that affect my plan? If you're not working with an advisor today, you might want to give it some serious consideration to doing something like that. And if you'd like to reach out to one of our Stonehouse advisors, just go to our website, click the link in this video, just reach out to us, whatever, and tell us that you'd like to have a free, no obligation chat with us. We do these kinds of conversations all the time. So now I'd really like to leave you with a list of great examples of decisions or important inflection points that our clients ask us about all the time. Depending on your perspective, you could consider these things to be landmines, or you can consider them to be wonderful opportunities. And I know I sounded a lot like a Debbie Downer earlier in this video, but I want you to understand this very important and very key fact. Almost no decisions in your retirement will be black or white. There's almost always an in-between answer or solution. And so what do I mean by that? Let's think about the condo purchase I used in my example earlier. You don't have to purchase a high-end condo inside of an expensive retirement community nestled up against the coastline within a superpopulated destination point on the map. There are millions of variations you can choose instead. Maybe you choose a small home that's 5 minutes away from that location. Maybe you move your location 1 or 2 hours away so you can live in a more affordable place, but go visit that ideal place with ease. One more important safety tip I want to add here. When it comes to real estate, we've all heard that you never want to be the most expensive house on the block, right? That person's home adds value to everyone else's homes, but their own value in that home is capped by everyone else's home. So that value only goes one way. When choosing a retirement community or a new place to move to during your retirement, it's almost the opposite. You don't want to be the poorest people living in an expensive location. Even though you may have 1 or 2 or several $1 million heading into retirement, and relative to the rest of the nation or the rest of the world, that's considered pretty darn wealthy. But if you move into a community that's filled with people who have 10 or 20 or 30 million in the bank, it might lead to some trouble. Believe me, I've seen people get drawn into these locations because of all the amenities. And trust me, I get it. I love the amenities. I mean, who wouldn't? But you must be real with yourself and take an honest accounting of whether or not that particular lifestyle is sustainable for you. If a large part of your cash flow gets gobbled up in housing costs, HOA fees, insurance, memberships, etc., then you have far less flexibility to do all the other things you were hoping to do. And we always treat flexibility as king when it comes to our clients' lives. I went deep in the weeds on that example, but that is probably the best way I could illustrate how important these decisions can be. Again, never black or white, usually a ton of other options for you to consider. Just give them a look. And now, here are some great examples of decisions that you'll likely come across that may trip you up in the future. And these things are things that we help our clients walk through all the time. So let's go. Travel costs. This is the time of your life you can do it, but the cost can grow very big, very fast. So if you're not watching closely, be careful. Healthcare costs. Not just signing up for Medicare, but I'm talking about other stuff like things that are not covered by Medicare, like cosmetic surgery, alternative therapies, which are becoming increasingly popular, private duty nursing, or traveling outside the U.S. Sandwich generation, which is a term we use for needing to be financially responsible for your kids still, and maybe for your parents too. That can be a lot all at once and a bit overwhelming. Long-term care or assisted living. This is care for yourself. Do you have that mapped out already? Gifting money to our kids, to our grandkids, which is often more than just talking about taxation of that gift, We often work with our clients to help make sure they understand the right messaging and purpose is behind the gift as well. When done poorly, handing money to a family member can become a crutch or an expectation. There are a lot of ways, though, to make gifting effective and exciting for everyone. Selling or purchasing a home, which I think I covered enough in the early condo example. Inflation. Although somewhat dormant for a long time, we've seen a big uptick in inflation in the last year or two, and people are starting to remember again just how disruptive it can be. And finally, taxes. All kinds of taxes. Where do you draw your income from to keep your taxes as low as possible, especially in retirement? And from which place and what years makes the most sense? That usually depends on the tax codes at the time, which is why we work so closely with your tax pro. I hope you found that illustration earlier and this whole video, hopefully, to be helpful. If you've enjoyed it, please give us a like, and we'd like to have you subscribe to these videos too if you're interested. It's been our goal to continue to provide people just like you some real good information about finance and about life and all the things that make life worth living. We're just trying to make your life easier.